Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Great to have you with us on the program today. As mentioned, our special guest, Oswald Viva, the founder, president of V&A Management Consulting Company, advising small and mid-sized businesses, spent 20 years in corporate management in large and small companies, and the author of an excellent book called It's Lonely at the Top, a practical guide to becoming a better leader for your small company. Oswald, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
You know, as I'm reading through the book, and I mentioned it's an excellent one, it's available at Amazon.com and at Oswald's website as well. We'll give you that information here in a second. I'm reading it. It doesn't seem like there are a lot of books out there designed for the small business. Every time you pick up a business bestseller, it's someone who's running a large multi-national corporation. Are there a lot of books out there for small businesses?
No, they're not, and you're absolutely right. The great majority of the books, in fact, there are probably thousands of them, different management type of books. They're all intended for large companies or written about large companies, and there are very, very few about small companies. And in fact, there is a huge difference between being the CEO of a large company and the job of a CEO of a small business.
You've got a couple quotes in the book.
I was fortunate to have the advantage of working for companies as large as IBM and as small as any of the 8 startups that I participated in, many at the C-level, including multiple CEO positions. And this experience gives me some perspective on what the differences are between, managing a large company and managing a small company. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to write this book.
The book is called It's Lonely at the Top, a practical guide to becoming a better leader for your small company. It's available at Amazon.com, also at Oswald's website, which is VAManagementLLC.com. Of course, you can go to thisweekinamerica.us and link on with Oswald's website and get all the information. Interesting, you start off and you've got some quotes in there with Jack Welch, and you say something that, when you stop and think about it, makes a lot of sense, that what Jack Welch is telling most people that are running small businesses really doesn't apply. In fact, it can be detrimental because what he's doing with, again, a multinational corporation isn't what most people are doing on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. I always admired Jack Welch for the job that he did at GE. But his philosophy or his mode of operating cannot work in a small company. And I quote some examples in the book as well, too.
The book is called It's Lonely at the Top. Oswald Viva, our guest on This Week in America, our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Oswald's is V as in Victor, A managementllc.com. Let's start off by talking about exactly what do you consider to be a small business, which I understand is pretty much the backbone of the American economy.
Yes, it is. There are many definitions for a small business, starting with what the government defines as a small business and what other organizations do. To me, a small business is an entity created by an entrepreneur that hopefully has grown and is still, being managed as a small company. Regarding the size, you can use different, like I said, different definitions. But if you use, for example, number of employees, a manufacturing company may have many more employees than let's say, a distribution company or a sales company with approximately the same revenues. So it's difficult to compare them that way. That's why I said, my way of defining it is it's an entity created by an entrepreneur that he or she is growing, but it still manages a small company.
You've consulted with a number of companies, I believe 8 basic startup companies. How difficult is it once the entrepreneur, they've got the vision, so they're creating this business to become the CEO. Can they make that transition from vision to actually implementing that plan and successfully being a CEO and running the company?
Yeah, and let me correct, I believe you say that I consulted for 8 small companies. I participated as a founder and or principal in 8 startups. But I have consulted for many, many dozens of small businesses. And I have over 14,000 hours of coaching CEOs of small companies. I'm sorry, the follow-up question was?
Well, yeah, it's once the entrepreneur has this vision, suddenly they take that vision, they have to implement it. Does an entrepreneur necessarily translate into a CEO for his company, or should he maybe look for somebody to run his company?
Excellent point. And I said in the book, too, that one of the first things you need to decide is, as an entrepreneur, are you the right person to be the CEO of the company? And, I suggest to do a good self-analysis, and I included, some questionnaires that you need to answer to decide if you are the right person for that. For example, I have worked with companies, successful companies, started by engineers. And I used to be an engineer, so I think I know what I'm talking about in that respect. Engineers typically are more interested in the technical side of the business than in the administrative side of the business. So if that's what you like, then you should be doing the job that you like because you're going to be good at it. If you do something that is not your cup of tea, you're not going to be as good as you probably should be for the company. So my suggestion would be, start the company, take it to a certain level, but then, make sure that you have a manager that can become a leader and CEO of the right company.
So you really need to do a pretty hard self-assessment of yourself to see if you are actually the one to lead the company on a day-to-day basis, or whether you need to bring someone in to do that. The book we're talking about, an excellent one. It's Lonely at the Top. Oswald Viva, V-I-V-A, is the author of the book. The book's available at Amazon. Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And information at Oswald's website, which is V, as in Victor, A, managementllc.com. Besides the book, I spent a number of years, as we talked about, as a successful coach and a successful consultant around the country. In the book, it's interesting because as you go through each chapter, they're coaching suggestions, things you really need to do, and you go back and look at yourself. One of the first things you talk about in the book, that when people are a CEO, they're sort of weighing the style versus the substance, and you feel the style is secondary to the substance of what you're doing as a CEO.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, because the job of a CEO is it's a leadership job. I mean, it's a combination of management and leadership. And to be the CEO, and it's, again, going back to the previous question too, doing your self-analysis, you have to decide, do you have the energy, the ability, the visionary aspects to lead the company as it should be led. You can have the desire, you can have the dream, but if you don't have what it takes, in the vision, in the ability to lead others, then you're not going to be as successful as you could be.
One thing you talk about is delegating, and how difficult that is for many people to do that. And you say basically delegating is the second most difficult job for a small business CEO. And this would apply probably to any leader. And the most difficult is delegating with accountability. So it's very common when people are reluctant to give up control.
Yes, that's very, very true. Typically, entrepreneurs, feel that, it's their baby. Why should they give out control of it? And lack of delegation is the result, or can be the result of many different factors. One of them is not knowing how to delegate, obviously, but it's also the being too protective of the know-how that the person has. In other words, I know this. Why should I teach others? And then they will know as much as I do, or maybe more. But the main aspect of the lack of delegation is nobody can do it as well as I can. Okay, and whether that's true or not, it's a terrible fault. So that's why I said it's the second most difficult job. And the first most difficult job is delegated with accountability. Because if you delegate and don't hold people accountable, that's just distributing the work. When you talk about delegation, you need to talk about empowerment and you need to talk about accountability. Empowerment is, transferring some kind of authority to the person that you're delegating to for that person to do the job that you're delegating, but then holding that person accountable. And that's the difficult part for a lot of people is how do they hold people accountable? And some people tell me, well, you can hold, executives accountable, you can hold engineers accountable, but you can't hold low-level people accountable or vice versa. And I said, it doesn't matter what level, you can hold people accountable at any level, whether it's a line person or whether it's an executive or whether it's a CEO of the company. They all need to be accountable to something and to somebody.
You're listening to This Week in America. Our guest on the program is Oswald Viva, the founder-president of V&A Management Consulting Company, advising small and mid-sized businesses. Spent 20 years in the top corporate management, large and small companies. He knows what he's talking about. He's been there at all levels of management and all types of businesses. One thing you talk about, you got a great chapter in there, several actually, talking about goal setting and smart goal setting. And for many people, it's difficult to sit down and to establish the goals, and you say it's really more than wishful thinking. Do many of us make that mistake when we're doing goals? It becomes sort of a wish list rather than realistic goals that will accomplish something.
Absolutely, yes. A goal is something that is, that's why it's being defined as a SMART goals. SMART is standing for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. A goal has to meet all those qualifications. And once you have a goal, let's talk about a goal for the company. Okay, when you do a strategic plan and you set the certain goals, the goal is a dream. Okay, if you don't execute on the goal, then it's just a dream out there. So for the goal to become a reality, you have to have a strategy. And once you define the strategy, then you need the action items to make that strategy happen. So it's a whole process. In the goal, I want to get to $5 million, or I want to get to $10 million. Sure, that is a goal. That is a dream. That is something that you want to reach. But to get there, you need to define the strategies. How are you going to get there? Okay, it's the same thing if you go on a trip, right? I like to go to California. Okay, that's fine. How are you going to get there? Okay, if you're going to get there by car, well, what is the route that you're going to take, and what is the timing, and all of that. So it's a plan that you need to formalize for each goal, defining the strategy, defining the action items, defining who's going to carry the action items, and how are you going to hold those people accountable.
Well, and you describe it as a process, and I think just in your explanation there, it really is a process, and you offer a suggestion, and you feel that weekly, maybe even on a monthly basis, you really need to sit down, go back, and take a hard look at the goals that you've set, and you say basically making minor tweaks from time to time can make all the difference in the world in successfully fulfilling those goals or failing.
Yes, some people make a mistake of believing that the goals are not to be changed, not to be tweaked, and that's a mistake because things change and the environment changes, business conditions change. So you have to, if you're talking about a long-range goal, you need to adjust that goal as you go to match the changes that you see in the business and in your own life sometimes. Now, if it's a short-term goal, it's a little different, but still you need to review it on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're traveling the right route.
The book we're talking about is It's Lonely at the Top, a practical guide to becoming a better leader for your small company. It's available at Amazon.com. The author is Oswald Viva. He's a consultant. His company is VAManagementLLC.com. You can go to his website, get information on the book, get information on Oswald as well, and many of the services that he provides. Go to our website, of course, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on at that point. Got a couple minutes left in the program. You also talk about something that's so important, and you see many people overlook, and that's planning. You talk about strategic succession, which many people don't do, and an exit strategy as well. How important is it to spend some time, and you may be in a very new company, but focusing on planning, including succession and including your exit strategy?
Excellent point. Working with many small business owners, when I mentioned the word succession, right away the answer that I get is, I'm not ready to give up my business. I'm not ready to retire.
Right.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. Succession planning should be for every position, or at least every critical position within a company. Now, if we're talking about the CEO, the owner, yes, you may not be ready, but do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? Do you know if, God forbid, something will happen to you? Is the company prepared to keep on functioning without you at the helm? So it's never too early to plan those things. Never too early to plan the succession of critical people, and it's never too early to plan your own succession.
Interesting information in the book. It's Lonely at the Top, a practical guide to becoming a better leader for your small company. Oswald Viva has been with us on the program. His website is vamanagementllc.com. I want to close with this, and this sort of puts everything in perspective. You say business should be a part of your life, apart from your life. And I know you deal with top executives in a number of companies for a number of years. How difficult is that for them to walk back and realize, I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got life outside of here. I have to put it in proper perspective.
It is extremely difficult for many people to separate the two. But my advice is you must separate the two. If you want to be successful in your business, you need to have a good life that would allow you to put your energy in the business. But family is more important in most cases. So you need to be able to dedicate the time to yourself, to the family. By doing that, you will have more energy. You will have more of the qualities that you need as a leader to lead your company.
30 seconds left. How many times when you're consulting with people do you find that bad decisions were made because they are fatigued, because they've been putting in 120 hours a week, and they weren't refreshed? They didn't go with the family for a weekend getaway to an amusement park or something and come back all charged. They're just running on empty and making bad decisions. Does that happen quite a bit?
Oh, that is extremely common, unfortunately. It is extremely common, particularly for, very young companies, that first started by an entrepreneur. They think that by working 120 hours a week, they're doing the right thing, and they're not.
We will have Oswald back in the program. It's an excellent book. It's Lonely at the Top, a practical guide to becoming a better leader for your small company. It's available at Amazon.com, also at Oswald's website, which is vamanagementllc.com. Oswald, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Looking forward to having you back with us.
Thank you very much. I enjoy it.
You're listening to This Week in America and the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network.